Welcome back to episode 101 of the Disorganized Wizard Club podcast. My name is Alex. I'm here as always with Adam.
Hello.
And Cam.
Greetings.
And we're a group of auto-based players that play just about anything and everything you can qualify for. We talk about decks, tournament stories, just about anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
Definitely. Most certainly, factually.
Lots of decks today.
Possibly also fake news, the deck we'll talk about later. Here on Brews 101.
The deck dump episode is sweet. It's always a ton of fun to prepare for. I mean, not always. This is the second time we've done it, but
it's awesome.
Both times have been fun, so you can say always.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time. We got a lot of decks to talk about today.
Yeah, also going to talk about Sealed.
Yeah, we coming off pre-release weekend. How many events did you guys play?
I played 3.
I played one paper and then a bunch more online.
Same. Exact same. I've been having a lot of fun in this format. It's cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Pre-release Sealed was interesting because it was the only sealed pool I had where I could have built a 2-color deck. Every other pool I've had, there's just not enough playables that are deep enough in just 2 colors I've been finding, which has been cool because I get to play a lot of colors, which is sweet, awesome. But it's definitely a different building experience.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of multicolor cards, right? You get less, if you were to separate your pool by color, right, like you can do online, you get a lot less single color cards.
Yeah.
You quite often have to play 3-color decks to have a powerful deck, and enough that you can compete. But the thing is the fixing with the lockets, the gates.
Oh, fixing's always good.
Yeah, it's good. I think you could probably just play 2 colors, splashing, let's say, 5 or 6 cards from another color to make up for your power, and good to go. And then no problems. I didn't have any problems. I mean, obviously at the midnight pre-release, I played 5-color pile, but
Of course.
my other pre-releases, I think I played like black-green splashing, like a Tristani Discordant and a couple other things, and no problems.
Just good mythics.
Yeah, I mean, I opened Lazov 3 out of 4 of my pre-releases, so no, not good mythics. And then on my very last one, my pool was insane. I opened like Assassin's Trophy, Overgrown Tomb, which is whatever in Sealed. It's not actually good. But then like Tristani Discordant, Doom Whisperers. But yeah,
Just a bunch of it
was insane. I was like, well, this is going to be the easiest pre-release of my life. And then I was like, I'll be free 6 wins, obviously, right?
Jeez.
Yeah, but like before that, I wasn't doing very well because like my pools were not great. My 5-color pile actually at midnight pre-release, I did quite well with. That's the one we were joking about where Cam looked at, because he stayed home and slept and then got up in the morning and I was still asleep and he looks at my box. What did you say you saw?
Yeah, so like it was just sitting on the kitchen table where you left it, and I like thumbed through to see what you played. And the first cards were Legion War Boss, Golgari Guildgate, some like blue-black removal spell, like Artful Takedown, and then a Plains.
And he's like, yeah, all right,
Just
right
on brand.
Yeah, just on brand.
Coming off last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it was sweet. I went like 3-1.
Yeah.
Good. But yeah, no, I definitely had a 2-color deck that I was like, okay, this seems fine. I'll try out this like 2, maybe splashing 1 card. I can't remember. And I just did nothing and died. It felt so underpowered. In one of my pre-releases, I went like 3-3 or something.
Yeah.
It was just miserable. My deck's just not great. I didn't build it well, I'm sure. That's any new format.
There's going to be a few stinkers.
You just also not sure which cards are A+, and you sort of, I remember like recently Matt linked that Omar Belden article, right? Where he's talking about his Dominaria pre-release. Did you see that? Did you see his pool?
No.
It's like, he's like, yeah, I wasn't sure what to play. And he's like talking about like limited's hard and, not sure what to play. And he posts and he's admitting, kind of how crazy he was, but he didn't know because it's a pre-release and he wasn't sure. His pool is like Teferi and insane white-blue cards and 2 Helm of the Hosts in his sideboard he's not playing. 2 Helm of the Hosts, just not in his deck, and his like main board is like Danitha and like all these 2 and 3 drops, like a bunch of legendaries, like no problem, and like 2 and 3 drops in his entire deck, all removable, and he's got Befuddle in his deck, or is it Befuddle? The -4
and you draw a card.
Okay,
draw a card, and not Helm of the Host, like. But he doesn't know. Like, it's just
you're gonna miss things.
You're gonna misevaluate things. Like that guy's an incredible player. Like he's just an excellent, really strong Magic player.
Yeah.
Right. This is
Everyone's embarrassed by what they did in high school.
Right. Yeah. So no, I'm sure I messed up here and there when I had some weak sealed pools, but had some strong ones.
Yeah.
Tristani Discordant is pretty good against Eldest Reborn, hey? You think about that?
Yeah, it is. I would. Yeah, it is.
They just have to take their own
I
stuff.
was like, yeah, just sack a token. That's totally fine. And then, like, oh yeah, that last bit of text on Pistati too.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
How was your pre-release?
It was so my deck. I thought my deck was good. I went 2-2. The first round I played against a pseudo mirror. I played it was basically Sultai splashing white. Played against a mirror match round 1, and my opponent had like a very, very good multi-rare draw in game 3 that just like killed me very fast. And then I lost to Andrew's mom in the last round, who had one of the best Boros decks I've ever seen.
That was my only loss as well.
She crushed me. Like we got to 3 games, and the only reason I won game 2 is because she made a very bad attack, and I got to basically eat her entire board. But if that didn't happen, I lose very, very easily. Her deck was insane.
I got rolled by a Boros deck. I knew playing 5-color pile though in sealed, you're sort of like, well, if I roll the percent chance of someone having the good Boros deck in sealed, which I think is less likely, maybe. Not sure yet, but if I roll low and I get paired against it, like I'm just dead. I'm accepting that fact.
Yeah.
And it was actually closer than I thought in game 2 when I mulled the 4, but well, I mean 5-color pile, you can't mull the 4, but it was actually close. But yeah, no, game 1, he wins the die roll and just goes 1-drop goblin, 2-drop goblin that you can pump with mentor or whatever into Legion War Boss, and I'm like, tap land, untapped land, lock it, you know, on the draw, and it just like Legion War Bosses me, and I'm like, oh yeah,
it was
free win for you, my guy.
Her deck was really good, but online, I think I've chained 8 sealeds together now, getting 6-7 wins on all of them, which just means you just get to keep playing for free off the first one, and
on Arena,
decks have been like, some of them have been really interesting and seem like a bit of a stretch, but have turned out to be very good. And it's been like, I love playing on Arena. The thing I love about sealed there is, it's just 1-game matches. So you get to like fly through these leagues, play a bunch of games, and then just build another pool.
Yeah, you get a lot of exposure.
Yeah.
I hate not sideboarding in some ways because I think it's like an actually massive part of Limited. We should have an episode about that sometime.
Sideboarding in Limited?
Yeah, and drafting and taking sideboard cards intentionally in Limited.
While I do agree,
I think it's better for pre-release though.
I think it's better just to get practice in right now, because I get to build way more pools and I get to play more games in the long run with different decks and against different cards and with different cards.
I agree,
just
for
being able to fire through multiple leagues.
Yeah, I agree. Learning the format, it's better.
Yeah, so it's been really great. I've been enjoying it a lot. MTG Arena is great.
I'm still pretty tilted about not being able to convoke.
You can't convoke?
Well,
What?
I had a board of creatures.
Yeah.
And my Llanowar elf that I needed to, not a Llanowar elf, some creature that I needed to convoke on the far right side.
Yeah.
With my Loxodon.
Your venerated Loxodon?
Venerated Loxodon. When I went to cast it and then click my creatures to convoke, when it's hovering where it hovers on the screen, blocked my furthest right creature, which was my last source to convoke with. So I couldn't cast my Loxodon. I just couldn't. I just couldn't do anything that turn because it just blocked by when you drag the card across the screen and it hovers there. My most far right creature was blocked by the image of I'm casting this Loxodon. Well, I can't cast it because your program won't let me move it and won't let me click behind it.
Still some design.
Was I mad? Like real mad. Still won that game, but I was still mad.
Yeah. Obviously, there's still issues, but
that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Oh, like marquee mechanic from the set that doesn't work on our program. Like, yikes.
I've heard they messed up Mentor on Moto as well. There's like, if a Mentor trigger only has one target, there's like this auto mentor feature where it just automatically targets that thing. But there's a bug in that if one of your creatures has an auto mentor and the other one doesn't, it like doesn't give you the choice of how you stack them. And it prioritizes something with like more power. And so like a lot of times you lose a mentor trigger because it stacks it wrong and one fizzles.
That's brutal.
It's not good. Well, but here's the difference. On Moto, you can file for comp. On Arena, if you paid to play sealed and you like lose a game because you can't convoke because literally just blocking the screen, that's it. You don't get anything back for that.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating to me, but I would never spend money on arena, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I'm saying for people who did, that'd be frustrating if you like bought into a sealed and it was like for, you know, to win and chain another one and then you just lose because of that. Like that's unacceptable to me when you're charging money for something.
Yeah, I agree.
But hey, what are you going to do?
Shit happens.
If you just grind out your quests though, like, it is nice to be able to just play limited for free, which is what I use it for. I don't really like play constructed on it. I play constructed elsewhere, but yeah, just getting practice with limited, it's pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Anything else from happened at pre-release that you guys want to talk about?
You played a lot, right, of Paper 3.
Yeah, I played 3 in Paper. I guess I was just surprised by how consistent the Surveil decks were.
Oh,
like,
man.
The blue-black decks in general, like, so a lot of people were, like, talking about how nuts Surveil was, and I think it's more so that it's, like, over-prevalent, more so than that it's inherently powerful, because it's basically just scrying. But they never print scry on this many cards. And so you can build a blue-black deck, and I assume this will be the case even more so in draft, where like half or more of your cards surveil. And like a lot of the games I won with that blue-black deck was because I just had the option of never drawing a land again when I didn't need it. And my opponents would draw a land, and I would just be ahead for the rest of the game. And that snowballed.
Yeah. I had the same experience with the one event I played. Like the two matches I won, I won 2-0 both, and it just felt like it didn't matter what my opponent did because I could always just draw my way to an answer with all my Surveil cards. It was so good. Like
an unchecked, obviously any of the unchecked guild mages are very good, but some of them have like their most powerful activation costs 6 in like the green-white guild mage, but the house guild mage, the blue-black one,
God, that card
has its most relevant activation at 3.
Yeah, card's actually insane.
Is
it the best one?
I would say yes,
because it just is
it's the cheapest
3 mana lockdown any creature and it can even lock down opposing.
Well, it's 2 mana. It just keeps something from untapping. It doesn't tap it.
Yeah, I know, but it locks down, and you can just keep it locked down if you need to.
So I haven't played with the other guild mages, but having played with this one and reading the others, I would argue that it's the best because its most relevant activation, the consistency of Surveil, only costs 3. And the other decks don't really have things that trigger when you activate their guild mage. But blue-black has a bunch of things that trigger when you surveil. And this is just a repeatable source.
It's
like if you have a spy bug or a thought-bound phantasm or a disinformation campaign, like you don't need to draw into something that triggers surveil again. You just keep using this one.
Yeah. I agree. I think the second close contender would probably be Conclave. Because just making 2/2s every turn is huge. Even for 6 mana is insane.
Yeah, they're all very good though.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, they're all insane.
They're all insane.
They're all fire.
I won quite a few games with Swarm Guild Mage, just giving everything on my team +1/+0 and Menace.
Yeah, like that's also nuts.
But like,
I don't know. It's hard to actually judge them because they're all so good.
I lost the last round of the previous I was playing that blue-black deck because I was against like a more experienced player that I knew, and he heavily prioritized killing House Guild Mage. I cast on 2 and he like took a turn off to kill it, made sure that he like always had some way so that he could kill it before I could activate it. And because of that, he eventually like was able to, like the fact that he drew lands didn't matter because I drew lands too and like he ran over me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, anyone who had sort of experienced the old, the original Ravnica and Return to Ravnica blocks knows how dangerous the guild mages are.
Yeah, they're always
They've always been a massive threat. Mm-hmm. That you can play early if you need to, they just do a lot. They're just excellent high picks. They're enough to consider playing a color on their own. If you have a couple of them, like if you have 2 Conclave Guild Mages, like you almost have to play Celestia, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of nice. One thing I don't know for sure yet, but it seemed like all the color combinations were pretty good. Mm-hmm. I think that Undergrowth was the worst for sealed. It's too hard to enable. You have a card like the fail state's too high, where you're just getting 1 or 2 creatures in your graveyard before it is too late. And you know what I mean? The impact you need from the, let's say, enter the battlefield triggers from these creatures just isn't enough yet. Mm-hmm. Maybe it will be in 10 more turns, but it just puts a lot of pressure on your deck to do certain things.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if it gets any better for the draft.
Oh, it definitely will because you can pick. But even then, it's hard to get the right enablers, right?
Well, your best enablers are Dimir cards.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. You can play Bug, no problem.
Yeah.
In draft, you can definitely play Bug. But I mean, I think from what I can see, people are just fighting over Boros, right?
Mm-hmm.
In draft,
Probably.
like although I actually think Is It in limited is in draft is probably quite strong. Because what's the 3-mana 4/3 that it can only attack if you cast an instant or
the
sorcery?
Cyclops.
Yeah.
That card,
I think it's a lot better in draft.
Oh man, that card's nuts in draft. And just like you know how like we used to draft the what format was that where we drafted the hyper red blue red aggro deck? Was it Hour
of Devastation.
And we would draft these like
blue red spells, yeah.
Yeah, blue red crazy like hyper red aggro blue red aggro decks.
Yeah, with like 15 lands.
14. Yeah, with slither blades and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like that card's a top end finisher if we can get other pieces for that, because there's the jumpstart card that is creature gets +1/+1 in flying.
Maximize velocity or
Yeah.
maximize altitude, something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
So like on turn 4, we can
Yeah.
just like 5 them in the air plus whatever else we're attacking with, and then do it again.
Having things
Right?
yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, that seems good.
Having a card like that at 4 power, or if you pick up a Wee Dragonauts.
Yeah, and then you could Dragonauts, like your curve ends at, and then you're just 2 and 3 drops with evasion and mobilize, right? And the jumpstart card, jumpstart as a combat trick's actually like pretty good.
Some of the jumpstart cards are very powerful because of enabling things like this. Other ones, like
I think in limited, they're all not all obviously because
right. I'm going to say some of the ones that I thought would have been good turned out to be somewhat underwhelming. Like I was not that impressed with direct current. It was fine, but it misses a lot of the format. There's a lot of X3s you can't kill with it, and the mana cost is pretty prohibitive.
Yeah, I agree.
The one Sonic Assault, tap something, deal 2 to your opponent. Didn't like that card.
No, I think that's a Winter Flame, right? I mean, Winter Flame has been a card for a while in cons and been reprinted elsewhere, and it was always sort of. The crazy part is that it lined up actually super well in that format and still wasn't that great because it killed morphs.
Yeah.
But for 3 mana, it was a 3-mana card.
Sonic Assault only hits your opponent. It doesn't deal 2 damage to anything.
It's only opponent.
It's tap.
Oh,
something,
no, that card's
tap
trash.
deal 2 to your opponent.
Yeah, I didn't read that. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah,
Yeah.
opponent. No, we're not playing 3 mana for a shock. That's insane.
Beacon Bolt was good.
Beacon Bolt, very good. I like that card.
Which one's that?
It's like 1 blue-red with jumpstart, deal damage to something equal to instants and sorceries in your graveyard.
Oh, yeah. That one's good.
Just because by the time you need that card to kill something, it's doing it efficiently. It's doing 5 to something for.
Yeah. So I don't think actually this set had many bombs I saw either that were just like like other sets, like other formats
as well.
Right, where you're like, well, I'm dead. Like when they play Wind Reader Sphinx in M19 and you're like,
coming out of M19, I really enjoyed the fact that anytime my opponent played a very good card against me, I didn't feel like there was nothing I could draw to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It felt, I think the only one, what's like the worst bomb you could come across?
Like Doom Whisper is still pretty.
Nullhide Feryx.
Nullhide Feryx.
Yeah, Nullhide Feryx pretty annoying. But there's like 1 mana, 1/1 death touches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not. Yeah, I'm trying to think of ones where you're like, Niv Mizzet.
Niv Mizzet's pretty bad.
Niv Mizzet's probably the one where you're like, God. Like, you know what I mean? Because in those colors, it means they have just these jumpstart cards. It means they're just going to go nuts and ping down your whole board. If you try and kill it, they're going to draw cards.
Yeah.
If you even have something that can kill it. Like,
yeah.
Niv Mizzet's got to be, if it lives, one of the most oppressive. I wonder actually if Dawn of Hope is actually pretty obnoxious too.
I had it in my first event, and there was games I played it on like turn 3 and then just started didn't really cast any other cards, just activated it every turn. Turn 6, I would draw a card, activate it, and my opponent just died.
Yeah, because like you can kill a Doom Whisper with just removal. You can kill most bombs with the removal in this, and I like that,
And they don't leave a lasting advantage. Like, yes, Doom Whisper made their next draw step better, but it didn't draw them a bunch of cards. It didn't bury you in some other way.
Yeah.
It might have hit you for 6, but
so I kind of like that, right? It felt like were never also having status statue in green black. I felt just so safe in limited when I had a copy of that in my a couple of my sealed pools, and I'm like, man, this card feels so good in limited. You're just not going to die to some weird enchantment. Like you can do whatever you want. Like, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, format's been really great so far.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it. It just doesn't seem really bomb centric. It seems also important. I also want to say I definitely got punished in a couple sealed events, some games, for being slow. And I think that's a good thing, because if this format was super dirtily, then it would just devolve into 5-color pile is the best. And that's what happens in the Modern Master sets when they print what are they called? Signets.
The
Signets.
yeah.
Yeah, right? Because you're just foolish not to just take Signets and then just...
And there's just no good aggro deck in that format. Whereas now, in this format, there is. And if you're dirtle too much, you could just die.
Right, you could even just die to a 2-drop because you don't have enough just vanilla creatures. And I think that's important. It keeps things in check.
Yeah.
So you can kind of dirtle, but you have to respect things. So format seems good.
I did lose a game to Vidalcan Mesmerist. Basically just a 2-mana 2/1 because... I got too excited by how many sweet Jeskai spells I had. Wasn't playing enough creatures. And so I spent all of the game, by the time I could start casting my removal, answering their 3 and 4 drops, and this thing just like hit me for 18.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the mistakes people make in Limited is just playing like 13 spells and 8 creatures, and it's like, well, now all your spells have to answer their creatures.
Yeah, but they were so sweet.
Yeah, no, I know. I get. Trust me. I get it. I'll first pick Mnemonic Walls. Like, I'm about casting spells, but... Yeah, no, it's a pretty common mistake. So for anyone listening, like you just need filler 3-mana 3/3s, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like 3-mana 3/3s are like the bread and butter of your like sealed deck because they keep you from dying. They trade out, you know, they can sometimes trade with a 4-mana 4/3, right? It's just you need these cards in your deck to not die.
Yeah. All right.
That's all about sealed, I guess.
So before we move on to our deck list, I want to talk a bit about our sponsor, Wizard Tower. WizardTower.com, great sponsor of this podcast. Check them out for all your Magic single needs.
Yeah, and they've also sponsored a giveaway we're doing.
Yeah, so last week we announced our 100 for 100 giveaway. We're giving away 2 prizes of $50 in store credit to any listeners, patrons. All you got to do, if you're a patron, you're automatically entered. Otherwise, you have to either like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and then retweet or share our 100th episode. Then you're automatically entered. We're going to be doing the draw this Friday. So this episode, we're recording on Monday. It should go up on Tuesday. So you'll have until Friday, Thursday night at midnight. So Friday morning, 12 a.m. to enter. And then we'll be doing the raffle and announce Friday night, I guess.
Yeah, I think we have a good amount of people who've...
Yeah, been a decent so far.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I think we could probably do more giveaways like this in the future. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm definitely down for giving away, for example, like... all of us just collect our sealed pools from the pre-release and be like, we'll just give you every card in a pool. You know what I mean? That'd be a sweet giveaway. There's lots of cool stuff we could do, right? From like pre-release giveaways and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And also, want to shout out to all the new patrons and all the patrons who joined us since the start. But if you join in, Discord's popping off now.
Man, this weekend was really busy. I had to mark 2 different assignments for classes.
Yeah.
And I was playing in the pre-releases and I just didn't have time. Plus with my desktop dying recently, I just haven't had time to sort of be on there as much. I've been just looking on my phone, but I can't type and people are just having... There's so many conversations going on. It's awesome. Like all these decks, people are giving advice, like what they thought was good and limited. It's basically like a whole different sort of podcast on there of all these discussions about what worked, what didn't, what people thought about so far in their testing for standard. Yeah, it's awesome. Like it's actually really it's really sweet. Normally I'm all over it, right? But yeah, this weekend was busy, but man, it's awesome to go through.
We're getting really close to that first stretch goal too.
Yeah, no,
it might happen.
For sure. Yeah. Well, we're gonna ship out a bunch of sweet tokens.
Yeah, so if
we're gonna get those designed.
If you guys want to be part of this Discord, you can join the Patreon at patreon.com/DWC Podcast. If you want to support us, and just huge shout out to everyone who's joined so far. It really means a lot to us, and we're stoked.
Plus, it's just fun having a community like that to talk to about the game we love, and I don't know, it's sweet. I really
enjoying it so far.
Also, we're gonna be at GP Montreal this weekend.
Oh hell yeah!
So the whole DWC squad going to a GP hasn't happened in a while. So
it has been. When was the last time we all went to a GP?
I've been boycotting GPs for like 2.5 years due to the price increase, and I was mad about it for a long time.
Quebec City, maybe that we were all there because you didn't go to Providence, I didn't go to Toronto.
After Quebec City is when I was also just burnt out on competitive Magic because I had like the Pro Tour the week before, and I was playing so much Magic and traveling to every event, and I was like, I need after that event, I missed at X3, and I was like, I'm done for a while, because I shouldn't have missed. I got so unlucky in my winning in, and I was so depressed that I was like, I'm taking some time off, and then I think since then, I haven't really played in one. Jeez,
it's gonna be fun. I'm really excited. Can't wait. 3 days off in a row. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So anyway,
if you're there, shoot us a message. If you're a patron, just message us in the Discord. If you're not, just shoot us a message on Facebook or on Twitter. We're going to be around.
I'll be wearing my DWC hat.
Yeah,
track me down.
Can't wait. Good
yeah,
times.
we're gonna go out after or Saturday night. I'm sure get some food,
get some beers,
get some drinks.
It's gonna be a good time. DWC pub night. All right, we got some standard lists. Whole bunch. You guys have been jamming nonstop.
Oh yeah.
I played for like 5 hours straight last night instead of sleeping.
Nonstop. Somehow we've been balancing our professional and magic testing lives a little. Because we didn't test for like from waking up until 4 a.m. sort of thing, which we almost did last time for a few days. We just tested nonstop, but this has been spread out. Though. Yeah, it was in the summer, so we just weren't doing anything else. We had the summer off, right?
Yeah.
But we definitely have been testing it in the evenings over the last week, and man, classic. Yeah, our whiteboard right in the dining room was just filled.
Some things have been getting crossed off now.
Oh yeah, there was some stinkers on there. Let me tell you, we tried everything. Like we don't discriminate when it comes to testing brews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like we did with the last deck dump, we're going to be posting all the lists we talk about on our Facebook page and our Twitter page, and they'll be in the Discord at some point today as well. So they'll get this afternoon early access to it.
Yeah, but, all the patrons will have early access to deck lists. Also, you can ask us for advice, like sideboard guide on how you play it for the patrons in the deck list channel. They'll know about this anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so all of these lists will be up. So if you're confused about card choices or what we're talking about, you can just find it on our Facebook or our Twitter page.
Yep.
And follow along. So yeah, kicking it off, number one list on this list, we have Jeskai Midrange. You guys have been really talking a lot about this deck.
One of the early contenders for an actual standard deck among the brews.
Yeah. This is one of the ones we had tweaked and played around with it and then thought, wow, this feels like an actual deck. This doesn't feel like a brew. This feels powerful. Basically, it's a Chain Whirler Teferi deck.
Mm-hmm. And
Aurelia, who I think, unless I'm completely misreading the meta, which is possible, I think that Aurelia becomes a sort of defining card.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
Right. I mean, there's a world that doesn't, but I don't see it. And she just dominates games. She pivots in the way we always talk about the best decks and cards doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel like she's going to have a similar effect. Again, not really want to bring up the boogeymen of the past, but like the defining cards of last standard, Chandra, Hazaret, whatever, they required certain answers, which was basically only Vraska's Contempt. Aurelia has the same feeling in that a lot of the things we tried had generic removal in it, and then you realize those things can't kill Aurelia, and you have to build your deck differently. There's a wider array of cards you can play now, but you have to keep her in mind.
Yeah. So I want you guys to talk a little bit about the card choices in the deck. I know you're playing Chart of Course, you're playing Rekindling Phoenix, Leon and War Leader.
Yeah.
Correct? You want to talk a little bit about these card choices, how they've been?
So Legion Warboss is incredible in the deck. I think it's probably just a strong both aggro and mid-range card because it's an army in a bottle. It kills people quickly. It lets you deploy one threat at a time versus control decks, and they have to answer it. If you ever play 2 copies, they're dead. It doesn't in a board like on an empty board because you're
similar to how Goblin or Album Master just
it's not as powerful, but it's strong. It's definitely strong. It might not line up well eventually, but it's good. Chart of Course I think is underplayed last season, and I think will be underplayed at the beginning of this standard, and then eventually will not be. It's phenomenal.
It's just so much gas for any deck that ever wants to attack at all.
Yep,
yeah, and very good with Legion Warboss.
That's exactly what that was my next point. Yeah, if you don't have good attacks, it doesn't matter. That Gobbo has to attack.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of games, I think I talked about this last week. There were games where you go, Legion Warboss on 3 if it lives because they play a blocker and then they play a 3-drop. They have 2 creatures. And you're on the play, you get to untap, attack with the Goblin. Or, maybe you already have it, but you Lava Coil blocker, attack with both, and then Chart of Course. Mm-hmm. And that's your turn 4, right? Or you play an Aurelia, and it's big. It just, it lines up really well. The Teferi, casting, the mana has been no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, right?
That's been fine.
Yeah, once in a while, you'll have a Glacial Fortress when you don't want it. But the thing is, the way the format's looking, you don't really want to cast Goblin Chain Whirler on 3 a lot of the times right now. You do sometimes, like in a defensive, when you're being defensive, because it's still an incredible blocker, but it's a really good mid-range card, right? Because it blocks everything.
Yep.
But if a Zoni's a thing and a lot of other cards, then it lines up really well versus them. Like it's what let me win versus the green-black graveyard decks was Chain Whirler.
Yeah.
It was very powerful.
Well, what I like about this deck is it has a good plan A, plan B. You're just playing a lot of very powerful cards.
Yeah.
And you really just kind of set up to handle basically everything.
Yeah, Leonin War Leader was surprisingly good because it kills your opponent faster than any of the other 4-drops in the deck.
Yeah.
Right? Because it kills in 3 attacks.
Yeah.
And Phoenix and Aurelia kill in 5. Right? And it kills in 3, and that's a big deal. The lifelink also can matter. The thing is, okay, so I'm going to post probably 2 versions of the list, though, because I think one of the problems with the Jeskai midrange, and it's an admitted shortcoming of the list, is that it doesn't have great answers.
Okay.
It just has like Lava Coil, and then Teferi minus, which is not ideal. And so I think if I were to make a change, a few things. The Seal-Aways aren't great. I don't think Seal-Away lines up really well in this format right now. And so I would move out copies. I would add a single Surturus Kanta.
Okay.
Because I think that you need something versus the control decks to keep gassing even main. And I think it's fine because it finds a lot of things in your deck that you might need. Possibly that. And the only reason I say that is if you're also cutting the War Leaders, going up to 4 Phoenixes and adding 2 Ixalan's Binding main.
Okay.
And that's if you're playing Search.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is you need answers to Doom Whisperer and opposing Teferis. And you put another Ixalan's Bindings in the sideboard. The other cool thing about the Jeskai midrange deck is it boards into a control deck.
Yeah.
Your sideboard is Settle the Wreckages, negates, you know what I mean? And
control cards.
Deafening Clarion, which is, that card's good. Especially in my deck that has Aurelia, where I can give my Aurelia lifelink and 3-year team versus aggro decks.
That seems decent.
Yeah, it was good. Got Camp pretty good with it in a couple games.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. I think it's been really good. I don't know the exact build yet, but I think we're close.
Yeah.
It's something like these minor differences between these lists. Again, just depends on the meta. Like
right, like
we had Justice Strikes in the sideboard, but like that could easily be a 2 or 3 of main if it lines up well. Like probably will, but
yeah,
it's something
Justice
you gotta wait
Strike
and
is a
see.
card I think you should probably consider just because it deals with some of the problem cards you said, like Doom Whisperer. Doesn't kill Aurelia, but I mean, not much does.
There's also a consideration to playing just Conclave Tribunal because you do play creatures and you can.
Yeah.
So there's still, it's not perfect, but it's a good start. And the mana it seems really greedy, right? Chain Whirler to Fairy.
It did, yeah.
But I mean, we both played lots of matches with the deck. And mana's
fine.
Mana's fine. Totally fine.
All right. Deck number 2, we have Red-White Path of Metal.
Mana Law.
So this is a deck I've been really wanting to work out. I've been talking about it a lot. I brewed a bunch of different lists of it, and this was kind of the final version we've gotten to right now. A lot of these lists, you kind of come down to the decision of, do you want to play History of Benalia or do you want to play Chain Whirler? And for this list, I went with History of Benalia. So you're more base white, playing, Swiftblade Vindicators, Knight of Grace, your Path of Metals, Bounty Agent as your last 2-drop with Lava Coil. You got Tagix, your Legion War Boss, Phoenix, bunch of good cards. I think Path of Metal can be quite good. This deck flips it relatively easily, and I'm very excited to see how good this deck is.
I mean, I was surprised. It looks goofy and it looks memey until you get like heroic reinforcements and they immediately flip a Path of Metal, and Path of Metal pings, a Zoni deck. It kills Glowspore Shaman, Llanowar Elves. Like it basically wraps people's board and then allows for these huge swings. If it ever flips, it will win the game.
Yeah.
I've seen people playing like a similar list, but with I forget his name, Sunhome Stalwart, the other 2/2 first strike for 2. Is that not better than Knight of Grace in this deck? Just because you can mentor up your Swiftblade Vindicator?
Oh, you mean it's the white, 1 and a white, 2/2 first strike mentor Boros card?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Like that could be
you don't have any way yourself to make Knight of Grace a 3/2.
Yeah.
And it plays better with Vindicator.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably make that change.
It might be just better than Bounty Agent too. I'm not sure.
Yeah. The sort of specific card choices again are going to end up.
Yeah. These are
It's obviously all like, I think that's an addendum or a sort of warning we should make that obviously these lists, like card choices are going to change, but the sort of general principle of each deck that we're talking about has been, I think, pretty strong. Just you might have to change some card choices and that's going to happen. But yeah, I was surprised like the Path of Metal strategy was a lot stronger than I thought.
Yeah.
Kind of made me playing tokens really miserable too.
Yeah. And I mean, you get to play Phoenix and Aurelia. So both those very good cards.
Yeah, Aurelia is really good.
Yeah.
Aurelia is really good with, the old Swiftblade Vindicator. That's a way to pump it. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
That happened to me yesterday in some games online. I was like, oh,
Hits for a lot.
ouch.
It's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage. Yeah. So
All right.
Path of Metal surprisingly good if it flips. Threatening. Yeah.
Yeah. And this
Big dumb
deck has
green creatures have a huge problem with it actually because they're sending in usually one at a time.
Yeah. Yep. I think there's a lot of potential in that list, and I would look out. I'd be prepared for Path of Metal decks. There's definitely a lot of Boros decks floating around online.
Yeah.
Not all of them are Path decks, but you're bound to see a few.
Yep, definitely.
Number 3, you guys have been saying this is...
This is also one of the decks we thought was unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the second early contender for just like a very powerful standard deck because of some of the starts it can have. And it's an archetype other people have been trying, but
I think all their lists are bad, actively bad.
they're bad in that they're missing what we thought made the deck very, very powerful.
And we're talking about green-white tokens.
This is green-white Convokens.
Yeah. So this deck is sort of, we tried a lot of variations of this deck. It's gone through a lot of testing and a lot of changes. Originally, we had, Hunted Witness in it. We don't anymore. We originally didn't have Venerated Loxodons. Sometimes we did. We tried all these different builds. Like Todd Stevens has a build and it has district guides, and that's not, I don't know. There are some builds out there that I don't think have the same power level, and I think a lot of the reasons this sort of green-white Convokens power level is so high is Amara Song.
Yeah.
Like the starts where you're able to play a Song of Frailes and you have an Amara, you can
Go a little nuts.
You can kind of go crazy, and you can ramp out, a Venerated Loxodon on a bunch of guys really quickly. You can then, by the time your song is going to pop on the 3rd chapter, play a March of the Multitudes and just make this gigantic board. I think Flower Flourish is actually a really good card in the deck. It lets us play. We're playing a low land count. We have Land of War Elves and Flower Flourish, and we're just playing 20 land. There's been times in sideboard games I've gone down to 19 and not have problems because Flower Flourish lets you play a low land count, fixes the mana, and late game just it's a 6-man anthem. It's fine. There were some versions of this list we had Immortal Sun, but it was a little slow, and instead we just went for more payoff cards to make sort of March and Amara better and History of Benalia better. History of Benalia really good with Convoke, which was we sort of have 9 payoff cards, and I think I would make the argument it should maybe go up to a 10th. But currently, we're kind of at 4 Tendershoot Dryad, 4 Venerated Loxodon, and a Shalai are sort of the ways you make your guys huge.
Well, the Song of the Frailes are payoffs too.
Yeah, sorry, and Song. Song's also an early enabler. The card's incredible. I don't understand lists that don't play it. The 3rd chapter, when it pops, lets you attack with a huge board and then Convoke afterwards and tap them afterwards because they're indestructible and vigilant.
How has a Tendershoot Dryad been? I know we talked about this as a card in our episode a couple of weeks ago. Cards we thought had a lot of potential to be good now into new standard. And your deck's playing 4 of them. So
yeah, it's incredible.
It's really good on turn 3 because of Song of Frailes.
Right. Like it often comes down on turn 3 or 4 and then has City's Blessing immediately. I posted a screenshot to a few people of Cam doing it to me doing it to Cam multiple times of the same thing of a turn 4 Tendershoot Dryad that had City's Blessing and already made 2/3/3. You know what I mean? And the deck was attacking for like 14 on turn 4.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, it definitely has some insanely degenerate starts. And then you also have Venerated Loxodon. So the one change I would consider making is adding a second Shalai.
Yeah.
Because it saves you from getting settled. And I think it's important. And I think you want 10 payoffs because Tendershoot dies easily. Venerated is the best one probably actually. But yeah, just more payoff because you have a bunch of stuff like you can flip your Legion's Landing early. I don't know. The deck has a lot of potential. It's really strong. It's really powerful. It's really fast. Do it. Yeah, Tender Shoe Dryad's been excellent. Also, you get to play Conclave Tribunal, and that's just
It's just like
an insane card.
free card, in your deck.
I don't know. Any other thoughts on the deck?
Yeah, just Tender Shoe Dryad has felt similar to Legion Warboss. Like, it often dies if you slam it on 3, and you leave it around a 1/1. But if you draw one late, or if it goes uncontested, you just win. So
yeah, the game just ends. If it's uncontested, the game ends very quickly. And if you have 2 of them, it's in 2 turns. The game ends in 2 turns because you're attacking for 20.
And like, even if it dies immediately and leaves a 1/1, that's fine. You're a deck that can use 1/1s.
Yep, and you specifically take advantage of 1/1s. So yeah, I really like it. A friend of ours has been playing it online, and he said he was 6-1 when he first started playing it.
Yeah,
and he said he was just liking it. Stomping. He was like, "Yeah, this deck's insane."
Nice.
So, yeah, he's got some online results with it, playing it.
Cool.
So, when we shipped, and he was playing a worse version, sort of an earlier iteration we have of it that not nearly as good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Next list is Green-Black Memorial Hulk. So I posted a early version of this deck in our chat last night, and Adam just kind of tore into me because there's a bunch of bad cards in it. So I've changed it recently we're probably looking at a different list than the one we're actually going to post, because I want to change Find Finality into Bone Dragons and probably another Doom Whisperer. But the deck is just basically a graveyard deck. You're playing Stitcher Supplier, Glowspore Shamans, and then your end game engine is essentially Molder Hulk and Memorial to Folly.
And you just loop them.
Yeah, which, late game, your Hulks cast 2 or 3 mana, then you just bring back Memorials in your graveyard every time you cast it. So if someone deals with your Hulk, you just Memorial it back to sacrifice, and sacrificing the Memorial, cast Hulk again for 2 mana, put Memorial back into play. And I jammed this deck for many hours last night, and just other creature decks can't get past that engine. Just casting a 6/6 every turn.
Right, the late game engine of I can just constantly recur these creatures, no problem.
Yeah, and same with the Zonies, playing Azonies as well. My Azonies were they were never for less than 5.
Yeah, I cast
them for 10, for 11.
I lost online to
ridiculous.
Some 10 and 11 Azonies, man.
Yeah.
It feels real bad.
Yeah, but a few of the core choices, there's one of Golgari Findbroker, which I'm not really sure. It could probably just be a 4th Chupacabra.
And Chupacabra's been excellent, hey?
It seems like with the 4 Memorials in the mana base that Golgari Findbroker is not necessarily needed.
Yeah, so that'll probably change as well to the final list.
This list is a lot better than the one you linked.
Yeah, I definitely like it a lot. It was really sweet last night, and I'm going to keep playing it and iterating on it.
This is good.
Yeah.
How have the Plague Crafters been? I actually think it's pretty good. I didn't play it in my green-black graveyard style decks, and that's a mistake I made.
It's been pretty good.
Because with Stitcher Supplier, it seems actually...
Yeah. I did like it a lot. It was totally fine. It was just kind of playing against Teferi decks. I'm like, okay, I have just this extra answer to Teferi as well as my Assassin's Trophies. Like, it's just doing what I want. I can kill something while putting another creature into my graveyard for my late game. Eldest Reborn, obviously super good. Vraska, Golgari Queen was very good as well, I found.
Yeah, no, she's surprisingly, just the utility on it is through the roof. She's great. Yeah,
I was really impressed. Find Finality, so it's not going to be in the list we put up, but I had 2 copies in my deck, and what I found with that card is it just always got milled. It was either always milled or... there was really no point in any game where I was like, I really wish I drew a Find Finality right now.
6 mana sweeper.
Yeah.
You just don't need it.
Yeah, it was just not something I needed. You had so much recursion already. The Find part would be okay, but you already can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's going to be switched to Bone Dragon, probably Doom Whisperer. Just another Bone Dragon was a card that...
Or Multani,
as well. Just cards that I can mill in my graveyard. And
Multani's probably better than Bone Dragon, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's just massive, has trample.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take the creatures out of your yard.
And it doesn't get rid of your yard the way Bone Dragon does if you want to recur it.
Yeah.
Oh, Multani's probably pretty good there. It's 1 more mana, but your ramp is fine.
I'll probably just put a split of both, just one of each.
To try.
So they're both in, so I can try them out. Because you end up milling so much of your deck that you get access to all your cards. You'll find them. Between you have your Memorials as well to bring stuff back that you mill. The deck was really sweet. I definitely think something's here.
How was Elvish Rejuvenator?
Very good. Very good.
I know. Yeah. Everybody laughed at me for the first week of testing before anyone had online games.
I didn't laugh at you.
I know, because you saw me playing it a lot.
To it.
Yeah, you lost to
my
it constantly.
First exposure.
Yeah, it was my Farseek with the 1/1 body. And every single person said the same thing to me when I was like, no, that card's really good. They were like, well, it's going to miss. I was like, it's like a 4% chance.
Never missed.
Oh, I missed a couple times, but it's fine. Like the decks you're playing are usually, but they have Vraska. They have, you know what I mean? Yeah. You have a way to use the one, put that body to use.
Yeah, like it could those Rejuvenators could very easily be District Guides too. I just wanted to see how Rejuvenator played, and it's been good so far.
Just depends if you want to ramp.
Yeah.
Or if you want to just play fair and grindy, but I feel like
Rejuvenator's got to be better in a 2-color deck where you aren't trying to make sure you have a bunch, like all your colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was better in 3 anyway. Like when I was playing Bug, just putting Watery Grave or Overgrown Tomb into play tapped, off of them was incredible. I don't know. But it's just funny because I was surprised how good it was in testing in the sort of 3-color Bug style decks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I was the late game engine of Hulk and Folly was so much better than I thought it was going to be, and I was very impressed. So,
yeah, Folly, I didn't really think about how good it would be with Folly.
And just creature decks can never break your loop up unless they're exiling your Hulks.
Yeah,
but you just find more of them. You have a whole graveyard. You're just constantly filling, and I was really impressed. I liked it a lot.
On this note, if you are playing standard in week 1, this Golgari Undergrowth deck is pretty straightforward. At least a basic iteration of it. So you should have Remorseful Cleric. You should have something to deal with graveyards.
Phyrexian
in your sideboard.
Scriptures for the Mirror. Oh boy,
that is well.
I mean, getting Assassin's Trophy is a beating for your Phyrexian Scriptures, but hey,
I mean,
you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, right. That's the game we're playing.
Yeah,
but I mean, Phyrexian Scriptures, I think for the Mirror, if you're expecting Golgari decks like this, like green-black sort of graveyard decks, it's got to be incredible, right? It has to be one of the best cards.
Yeah.
There's other graveyard cards you can play. I said to Cam maybe last night, I think we were talking about this. I said, is Deathgorge Scavenger one of the best creatures in the format?
Also very good.
Oh man!
Should we just be mainboarding it over certain just kind of medium cards?
Sideboard, yeah.
Should it not just be main? Is it not just right now in the format just god tier? Like I'm actually curious.
Yeah.
I think that it might be a tier 1 creature that is just in every green deck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What
you might be
what
right.
people are trying to do. I'm curious. So
it's definitely going to be in the 75 when we post this list.
Right. I mean, if it's not in the 75 of your green list is incorrect.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
just completely forgot that card existed.
Yeah. I mean, that card's insane. So, yeah. No, that's...
Right. Next deck list. Fake news. Blue-black.
So, Disinformation Campaign, a.k.a. fake news. Card's insane. This is just a Pauper style card. This is a Pauper... a classic, just Pauper is always just a fair old 2-for-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about Pauper cards, it's an uncommon, unfortunately.
A 2-for-1 on an irrelevant body. This one, not actually a creature.
Right, it's not good enough for Pauper, even if it was a common, because it doesn't come with a body.
Yeah.
But this fake news deck, surprisingly strong.
Yeah, so Disinformation Campaign, if you can't think of what it is the 1 UB enchantment. When it enters play, you draw a card, your opponent discards a card, and whenever you surveil, you can pick your enchantment back up.
Right.
So you're just playing this blue-black deck full of removal and surveil cards.
Yeah, just Chupacabras, Vraska's Contempts, a couple Ritual Suits, and then the Sinister Sabotage,
Doom
Thought.
Whisperer,
yeah. Thought Erasure, which I don't normally think Thought Erasure is that good, but... when you draw late game here, it's fine. Yeah. It just picks up a couple Disinformation Campaigns when you surveil, so it's fine. Late game, it's not great, but it's basically cycles for a bunch of mana. But it's fine, and so I think it's pretty good. It's good use of Dream Eater. The Dispersal card's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. It's basically just a blue-black control deck where the first iterations of control that I tried to make were testing Chemister's Insight. And that card never quite felt good enough as a card advantage engine for control decks. And I didn't think of Disinformation Campaign as like the replacement of the card advantage engine. But it's been very good.
Yeah. No, it's strong. And it just grinds people down. right? It gets their hand. It puts your opponent into top deck mode very quickly, and then you just need to sit behind a single Sinister Sabotage while you win the game with a Doom Whisperer. You know, it's pretty good. I think there are probably some holes in the deck where if it falls behind early, it's in big trouble.
Yeah.
Obviously, it can line up pretty poorly against a Ferox deck.
Oh yeah. Ferox just actually walks this thing down.
Yeah.
Knight of Malice also single-handedly just can kill this deck.
Knight of Grace.
Knight of Grace,
They
sorry.
can't kill it.
Yeah, because they can't kill it.
Outside
And
of, like there's 2 Ritual of Soot, but otherwise, you just get hit for 3 every turn.
because you play a disinformation campaign because you kind of have to, and then they just hit you with a Knight of Grace for 3 for the rest of the game while you sit there until you can play a Doom Whisperer to block it, right?
Yeah.
So, bit of a beating.
Yeah.
But I think this is a pretty good Dream Eater deck. Yeah. This is a really good deck. So I put it together online and I played it last night a bunch and I wrote in chat to both of you, wow, this deck is actually obnoxious. It's really tricky and really powerful. And the fact that it puts opponents just into top deck mode so quickly is something to seriously consider about this being close to a tier 1 deck. This is probably this is probably the tier 1 control deck right now. I think it's incredible. But there's some changes I would make to make it a little.
We'll have made changes by the time.
Yeah. But I mean,
we have another like a Tezzeret Karn list that we're going to talk about earlier.
that actually also might be.
I don't know which one's better, or maybe if you just combine the 2. But
we're just not sure yet because control needs to know. But yeah, we'll figure it out.
And this list here, this blue-black fake news was this was a Moto 5.0 that we found, right?
Yeah, it was a Moto 5.0 that I found on Twitter.
Yeah,
and
made a few changes to it.
I just thought it was sweet and it was something we should talk about because I haven't really seen anybody talking about fake news yet.
Yeah.
So
Really?
I thought it was cool.
You have been online and you haven't heard anything about fake news.
Huh.
No.
Interesting.
All right. Next deck. Dino Ramp.
Oh, baby.
Tell me a little bit about this. This looks sweet.
Well, it's just a natural curve of 2 mana Thunderherd Migration, turn 3 Circuitous Route, and then turn 4 6 drops, of which you have 4 Carnage Tyrant and any number of Vraska you want to play. We have 2.
And Tetzamok, which you're not playing on turns.
Yeah, and Tetzamok. Yeah,
that card's just Plague Wind.
You fall behind while you're ramping, but it doesn't matter because then you mark their 3 creatures and play a Tetzamok, and you have a 6/6 and they have nothing. And the very top end, because we have some district guides and Circuitous Route can go get gates. It's a Sakama. So you're just base green black. You can go fetch a couple red white lands. You just Sakama people.
So it seems memey, but it's actually insane.
It was one of those decks that we put together. It's we just ramped as Sakama, biggest thing in the format, and then we were playing it against stuff, and the other decks just kept losing.
Right, because
you can. 9/9 is huge.
Right, it's a 9/9. This can beat your Molder Hulk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This goes shoot down your entire board because it's an Urza card. It untaps all the lands when you cast it.
Yeah.
So it either can shoot down things on its own, or it's going to untap 14 mana and then Tetzamok your entire board.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now I have a 9/9 to 6/6 your turn, and then you just Vraska's Contempt or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This deck in the sort of original gauntlet of a few decks we had built, this deck was one of the victors. Went through playing against a bunch of different decks, and this deck came out basically undefeated, I think. It eventually lost to Blue-Black Storytime, which we'll get to eventually.
Yeah.
But this deck, in our testing early, went undefeated for a long time.
I mean, it lost to Maze of It because the Sakama couldn't attack.
Yeah. That's actually what it ended up losing to because Blue-Black Storytime has a thematic compass.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it lost to a thematic compass because it couldn't answer it.
Yeah.
Because it flipped.
Yeah.
Sakama could kill, obviously, any artifact or enchantment, but the deck was surprisingly good, and this isn't even the best version.
I like the Wayward Sword Tooths.
They're
very good.
Very good with District Guide.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can definitely you can sort of go nuts. It ramps shockingly fast. Mm-hmm. Carnage Tyrant is busted, obviously, still.
Yeah, still just super hard to answer.
And it's also if they're on the play and they just go, turn 2 Thunderheart Migration, and then Wayward Sword land, and then untap land Carnage Tyrant, right on turn 4.
It's pretty good.
They'll just beat you down before you can do anything. A lot of decks can't race that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wayward Swordtooth as well. It plays plan A well if you just put a bunch of lands onto the battlefield, but it also gives the deck a nice plan B of just something to attack with while you're waiting to draw bombs or.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the deck was quite surprising. It could grind through a lot. I think it has good sideboard options as well. Like this deck is something that you can tune to beat a lot of things.
I like Banefire on the sideboard, just like good old
Right.
Adam. Yeah.
Yeah, because we can get gates off Circuitous.
Circuitous
route?
Yeah.
Circuitous.
I don't know, man. Reading's impossible.
Circuitous route.
Yeah,
Similar to a circuit.
Yeah, Circuitous route.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, you can go get your red sources, no problem, with District Guide and that card. Vraska Relic Seeker also makes treasures. And so sideboard Banefire is, just free win versus control for this deck.
Like you mentioned, Deathcord Scavenger.
Yeah, we got Deathcord Scavengers in sideboard. A bunch of Moment of Cravings for aggro. Probably add some Ritual Suits. Oh,
Yeah,
no,
those
they're
are
in there.
Yeah.
Geez, this sideboard is actually like phenomenal. The only thing it's missing is probably like an Argyl's Bloodfast.
Yep.
But no, you could just probably cut the 2 cast down. Yeah, well,
And I think this deck it's good now, but it gets better next set because like the Boros Guildgate and the Selesnya Guildgate, it would be very nice if those were like
Rakdos.
black, white, and black, red lands.
Yeah.
Because you just want a ton of black mana. You want to be, if you play this, you want to be fetching a minimal amount of forests and as much black mana as you can so that when you draw Tetsamok, it can plague win most boards.
Right, yeah. Don't prioritize forests at all. They're actually irrelevant.
You need like 3 to 4 forests,
Tops.
green sources, and then after that, you just want as much black mana as you can with like a red source and a white source.
Yep, for Zakama, and that's it. And yeah, you can get more later so that your Zakama can bolt or gain more life. The other thing with Zakama is he stabilizes, right? It's gains 9 if you need.
Yeah.
If you have the mana to do it. But
Probably
it gains
like 6, but yeah.
Yeah, it gains life, it bolts things, gets rid of problem artifacts and enchantments. Yeah, it was really good. It was surprising. And I think versus control, you have it's not bad because I played a similar style deck previously and it had no problem versus control. Carnage Tyrants.
All right. Next on the list, we got Black White Vampires.
Thought this deck was going to be bad until I lost to it.
Yeah. That was the story of this one too. Again, this was like an initial list, so I would go up to 4 Danto's Vanguard. I don't know why I only had 3. The Maverin Fanes are replaceable. I just need another 3-drop. But the core of this deck, like, it was a surprisingly resilient aggro deck that had like fast starts. It can take advantage of the fact that, well, not really take advantage. It can make up for the fact that black-white mana is bad because it's a tribal deck and you can play unclaimed territory.
Yeah, unclaimed territory was really strong because you're playing Conquistador and Legion's Landing. For people who can't look at the deck list while they're listening, it's sort of, Legion's Landing, Conquistador, Vanguard, Legion's Lieutenant, Radiant Destiny, and then getting people with Sanctum Seeker and Vampire Sovereign at the top end.
Yeah, Vampire Sovereign from M19 was a huge boon for this deck.
Just got to cast some Flying Siege Rhinos.
Yeah, it's Flying Rhinos.
It's great.
And we were discussing this sort of on the car ride over. It's a deck that has fast starts because you're just playing, 1-drops and 2-drops and Lords. But it's also an aggro deck where its 1-drops are not invalidated if the game starts to stall out because you can wait until you draw another pump effect and then they're a reasonable size, or you can use them to stall behind Vampire Sovereign, to fly over. Sanctum Seeker turns them all into fireballs, and it's playing 2 Champion of Dusk, which it might want 3.
Yeah, it was insane.
Because when the game starts to stall out, like your opponent can attack you because you'll swing back and kill them, but you also can attack because they have a better board than you, and then it just draws 5 because you have 1-drops lying around. Like it's an aggro deck that converts its 1-drops into relevant late game cards very well.
Yeah, it turns its early creatures into late game resources. And also, it has closer. Like if it hits you for 9, there's a good chance 2 Vampire Sovereigns are going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So all it needs to do is hit you early a few times and then close out the game. Because, look, if you have a Radiant Destiny, then this Vampire Sovereign is massive. And
that's literally a Rhino.
Yeah, just one, right? And then if you have a Lord, we're talking about, that thing's a 5/6 with Vigilance, right? And that's sort of, it was actually surprisingly strong. And I think black-white has really strong sideboard options.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can put Remorseful Clerics in the sideboard. We get Argyl's Bloodfast, Duress. All the sort of key things we'd want in a lot of matchups are here. And this deck can grind through a lot, right? It still has Legion's Landing. Vampire Conquistador on check does a lot of damage versus control decks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. It's happening.
Maybe just close Messenger.
You just got to close all Facebook windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to close them all.
And so, like, the card choices, obviously, with all these decks, they can be swapped around. Like, this list had a Johnny's in the sideboard. They're probably better. Well, they're almost definitely better than the Maverin Fanes. Or maybe, like, you want 3 Radiant Destiny to a Johnny something. But the core of, like, this aggressive start with this top end of Vampire Sovereign and Champion of Dusk was quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, we're going slow here. Jeez.
We have
There's
a
so
lot of
many
decks.
decks. Yeah. Okay, so there's also mono green Stompy / Hate Mares, which is basically a deck that we talked about, which is, Pelt Collector, Llanowar Elves,
Yeah.
Steel Leaf,
Feryx,
Vine Mare, and
Carnage Tyrant.
if you want Carnage Tyrant, I don't know if it's too slow, but a deck, I think Vine Mare right now is just degenerately good and standard.
Yeah.
It's incredible. If you're playing a Llanowar Elf green beatdown deck, you need 4 in your 75 probably. It's really obnoxious. It doesn't die to anything. There's lots of...
Attacking through Aurelia is big.
Well, I mean, these Zoni decks and Molder Hulk decks can't beat it, right? You just smash through them and they die.
Yeah, you just can't ever block
You
it.
can't block.
Yeah.
So Vine Mare, that's the whole reason to play the deck.
Yeah.
So that's the mono green Stompy deck.
Not much else to say.
There's not a lot of play to this deck. They don't get to interact, and neither do you.
Love it.
The only deck it looked silly against was green-white tokens. Because that just has a lot of jump blockers and eventually go bigger than you.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Journey to Eternity midrange.
Deck sweet.
Yeah. So this is...
Talk a bit about the card choices because we don't have it pulled up in front of us.
Well, okay.
What cards are in it?
It's Llanowar Elves, which is an evergreen deck.
Yeah.
But Vraska Golgari Queen, because you want to sacrifice a creature. Chupacabras, because they're good to return with Journey. A lot of ETB creatures, right? This is what we're looking for. Thrashing Brontodon was one you pointed out. So you can sacrifice it right away when you put a Journey on it. And you will sort of want to play this deck just like a green-black mid-range deck. Like, we also had a Zoni in it. And your game plan is sort of to flip a Journey safely.
Yeah.
You want to do it in a turn where you can get it. That they're not going to assassinate. It depends what you're playing against.
Yeah.
But, you don't want to get it Assassin's Trophy like we were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it just sets up this like really strong late game lock of like bring something back on your end step with Journey. It has some ETB trigger or you get to attack with it. Then like sacrifice it to Vraska to draw a card and then do it again.
And then just lock it. It's sort of similar to what you're talking. It's the same kind of strategy of the Molder Hulk Memorial deck, right? Similar strategy. The nice part is it can be kind of abusive with Chupacabra. You can really get, like, you know what I mean? You can start it early and just keep chaining that off itself. And you don't need to have the exact only loop of Molder Hulk Memorial. You can just pick your creature. It gives you a lot of utility.
Yeah.
So it was pretty strong, actually. It was surprising. So it wasn't that hard to flip. And pretty good versus sort of decks where you just want to be defensive. Like hyper aggro decks, you just block. You just put it on a Stitcher Spire block.
Yeah.
If you know that other deck can't really interact with it, you can just turn 1 Llanowar Elf, turn 2 Journey on your Llanowar Elf.
Yeah.
And then turn 3 Vraska second. And get them both back, right? And you ramped. So,
yeah. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Sultai midrange. You guys said this was one of your decks that just was winning a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. We couldn't figure out how and why.
Yeah.
Well, both this deck and the Journey to Eternity deck are just taking advantage of how powerful the Eldest Reborn is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're both 4 Eldest Reborn decks. The bug mid-range deck, it was just, I was playing Hostage Takers, Connive Concoct, Muldrotha, Vraska 6. Just a big, slow deck with like Elvish Rejuvenators to ramp and a bunch of removal and 4 Vraska's Contempt and I think a Dream Eater or 2. And it just ground people down. Like, there's something so powerful in just playing Muldrotha and then recasting my Eldest Reborn or my Vraska. Like, being able to recast Planeswalkers and enchantments from the graveyard is something that doesn't happen.
Yeah, Muldrotha is nuts.
So, and you can keep getting her back with Vraska's, or Eldest Reborn. Yeah, this bug deck was shocking. It would seem like, oh no, it's losing, it's in a bad spot, and then all of a sudden it would just slowly 2-for-1 its opponent out of the game and come back and win.
Because a lot of its top decks are, like, if it's behind, it can use its top deck as an answer. Like, Eldest Reborn is an answer on the front that convert into threats. Like, you draw Vraska, you answer something, then you start making, like, threats. Like, it just it can always sort of like claw its way out because of this.
Yeah, if you're looking for just a slow, grindy mid-range deck, this is the one. And it was really good. It was surprising. It just kept clawing through games. Just the power level on it, like people would have whatever cute combo or recursion, they just get slowly ground down by it. Just, Muldrotha, just so strong.
Cool. Let's...
Oh, yeah, baby.
Grixis Pirates.
So this was a deck that I'd been thinking about the sort of the 3-color combos that are viable due to the way the Shocklands line up, which are Jeskai, Sultai, Naya, Grixis, and
Abzan.
And I hadn't really seen like a good Grixis list, and so my thought was it's base blue. There's a lot of blue pirates that fly, and then you can support it with Nicol Bolas in the air and Doom Whisper in the air. And so having all your creatures fly, make those like late game big bombs, close the game faster because you've already hit them for a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a couple other neat combos in here, like Warkite Marauder turning something into a 0/1, and you're playing Fanatical Firebrand.
The 1-2 punch.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch. And it's a deck that takes advantage of Charter Course because you have these cheap creatures. It can like Charter Course just does so much. You just are always full of gas.
With the pirates too.
Man, Charter Course is just a phenomenal card right now.
Yeah, and like making a 2/3/2 with like Stormfleet Aerialist is very good. And then Doom Whisper Bolas on top. This list has 2 Admiral Beckett Brass in it.
Well, we're not going to post that. So
we're not posting that list. Well, I originally had 2 Admiral Beckett Brass. Didn't actually cast it, but it's probably not good.
I thought we were going to change it for just relevant to hostage takers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably
right. It can play Hostage Taker as well, which is just another like very good value creature.
Yeah. But I thought I was like, nah, this deck's dumb. And then I lost to it in testing with actual real decks a couple times. Yeah. And like decks people are playing online. Like so decks that have seen on Moto and that have done well on leagues. I lost to this dumb Grixis Pirates deck, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. So as soon as you take out the Admiral Bracket Brass, it sort of frees up the deck. It doesn't have to be Grixis Pirates, but it's just sort of Grixis
Tempo. It's Grixis Tempo.
Grixis Tempo.
It's Grixis Blue Tempo because
blue-based Grixis Tempo with Charter Course and
just early
flyers on top.
Yeah, early aggressive creatures in Charter Course that has access to counter spells, counter magic, and tempo. It's sort of just a Grixis Tempo deck.
All right, now you've kind of hinted at this list a bunch already. Blue-black story time.
So we built this a lot of like we said, we'll test anything.
Yeah,
and we built this deck as a joke, sort of.
It started with Traxos and Zahid, and
that version also did win some games.
Yes, but it's been upgraded since because a very powerful interaction that came out of playing that deck was just Tezzeret and Karn, on the field at the same time
as a team, as a tag team duo.
Yeah,
turns out the two of them late game can beat, from what we can tell, almost anything.
They both have the word artifact on them multiple times.
You see, it's a theme deck.
Okay, I see. And this deck's called Story Time because you're playing a bunch of sagas.
Yeah, we're playing Phyrexian Scriptures, which is the kind of key to the deck in some ways, especially when it was originally a sort of Traxos deck. We were playing Voltaic Servant. I'll post that list.
Yeah, it was good.
It was actually good. It won a bunch of its games as well because you can untap Traxos end of turn.
We'll put both the early list and then this one.
But it was all based around Phyrexian Scriptures and some artifact creatures and keeping them alive. And Phyrexian Scriptures, barring it getting Assassin's Trophied, was just absolutely excellent right now in Standard. It killed everything, kept one of your creatures around, nuked graveyards. This is the key. Yeah. Again, why I said in the green-black mirrors, I think this card's phenomenal. Keeps one of your creatures around, possibly more. For us, our entire board, we'd make like a 6/7 Zahid in the initial versions of it, which also just unkillable in this format. But yeah, you sort of Phyrexian Scriptures, Eldest Reborn people, so story time. And then Karn and Tezzeret gather around to tell these kids a tale about how they're going to lose these 9/9 artifacts. Deck plays a bunch of Treasure Map, which is actually, I think, one of the most efficient card advantage engines in the format right now. There is just not really good raw, like, draw X. You know what I mean?
It's all these, like, somewhat non-traditional card advantage spells that are shaping up to seem the best. Fake News, Treasure Map, with, like, the Chemist's Insights not actually being great.
No, that card's bad. But, yeah, so flipping a Treasure Map, really strong. Karn and Tezzeret. The late game engine of the two of them together is just so powerful that we ended up building multiple decks around it. We also built I built a Grixis version of it. That was sort of a Grixis Super Friends deck. And it was okay. I just haven't had enough time to play more with it. But yeah, just can do a lot. It's hard to get through them. There's not, you know what I mean? As long as you can stop their Doom Whisperers, a lot of just generic creatures aren't getting through Karn Tezzeret. Anything they draw is invalidated at that point.
Yeah.
So really strong, actually. Like I think in early weeks it's difficult to play blue-white control or something, or Jeskai control. Like we tried to post some, but we tried different versions, but you don't know what you're looking for. You don't know what your answers are, right?
Yeah.
And Teferi is not a proactive win condition, so it's awkward. You just fall behind. They answer your Teferi, you lose. Well, as a control deck, week 1, Karn Tezzeret is a proactive way to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean? It's
definitely.
of perfect, powerful top end of tap out control that it's good versus anything. It doesn't matter what they're playing. So yeah, it was very
I like
good.
it.
Yeah, it was quite strong.
Yeah, cool. Now we have Abzan or Green White Knights. You have a few iterations of this deck. Not really sure where to take it.
I have no idea how to build the green white deck.
There's one's
too many options. So many options. Like, are we playing strictly Knights so that our History Benalia pops, or are we playing sort of, like, are we just playing because the Abzan list 100% can just play Steel Leaves.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, because you're base green.
Abzan's base green.
And then you're also, you have like Knight of Autumns if you want them. It's, you're probably a Llanowar Elf. Well, you're definitely a Llanowar Elf deck if you're base green. But like, are you playing Valiant Knights or a Johnny's, or how many Conclave Tribunals are you playing? Or are you playing Cast Downs, or are you?
Right. What's your removal suite? Like, it's just, I don't know yet because it needs to know what the format's looking for. Are you playing Lyra's main? Are you playing Ferric's main? Because
that too.
You only have the 4 Conclave Tribunals and you don't need to cast them if you're just killing them with a Ferrix. Like, and
every time I try and like make this list, it's like I just put in like, it should be 4 of this card, 4 of this card, 4 of this card. And then all of a sudden you have like 40 cards sitting there and you haven't added lands, and like you don't know what to cut. Like Midnight Reaper is a knight. Maybe that gives the deck a lot of staying power. Like,
should the decks be splashing Vraska then?
How many 2-drops are you playing? Because like if you're playing 4 Knight of Grace and 4 Knight of Malice, then like you're running out of room for some top it. Like there's just a lot of options here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the green-white version, you have the same problem. Are you playing just all these Knights, but are you also playing, March? A couple copies of that. Are you playing, there's so many green-white options. Celestia has so many to choose from, and it's just not clear to me what the best build is. I think there are obvious like it's History Benalia, Llanowar Elves. Like there are certain set cards, like Knight of Grace is probably in all of these because it's just such a great enabler, but I think I would say initially that you want to have access to black cards because the sideboard cards are going to be so important. But the Abzan cards have a great sideboard selection. Like, I think the Abzan Knights deck is going to be a tier 1 player because it has Remorseful Cleric in the sideboard to nuke graveyards. It can play Eldest Reborn to grind out versus control decks. Argul's Bloodfast. That's why we knew the blue-white control decks were useless, because a crappy black-white Knights deck I played without even green just smashed them. So... but we're just not sure on the build. There's so many options, man. Right? Like, what do you even do?
I don't know. We'll have a build for.
Do you play Shalai? Like, I'm gonna post like 4 different pictures of it, like, because I'm not sure which one.
Yeah. Okay. Grixis Dragons.
Oh, this deck is
sweet.
Yeah, this deck is just stone cold sweet. So the old 5-color dragons, you don't need to play the 5-color dragons anymore. You don't need to play Unclaimed Territory because now you have Niv Mizzet, and you can
play that.
Just play 4 Niv Mizzet and he can't be countered, and you just slam it on turn 4 after your Sarkhan. There you go.
Yeah, Sarkhan's never had trouble casting a dragon in his life.
Yeah. So, I mean, we play 4 Niv Mizzet, 2 Varix Bladewing, which really just is a way to, on turn 5, if you have a Sarkhan, you can just kick it.
Yeah, and 2 4/4s.
That's good.
Nicol Bolas, Dragon's Horde, Sarkhan, Fireblood.
Yeah, and the reason you're playing Varix over something like Palladium Moors is simply because I'm not playing Unclaimed Territory.
Yeah.
Because the early deck is Lava Coil, Cast Down, Legion War Boss. Like, I'm just some early pressure and removal, and then just big bad dragons. And it's been quite strong. As Ritual sits in the sideboard, like interesting sideboard options to grind through. It's obviously going to have a medium control matchup sort of game 1 because it's got a bunch of dead removal. But hey, good sideboard options, right? Just a bunch of duress, access to counter magic, Bloodfast.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a strong deck.
Cool.
Fun to play too. Slamming, just a bunch of big fat. I just want to cast my dragons, man.
And like Niv can occasionally just like line up very, very well against what people are doing in the format. I lost a game because I still had 4 cards in hand, but Adam cast Niv Mizzet, and my hand was Essence Scatter, can't be countered, 2 Cast Downs, it's legendary, and a Lava Coil. That only does 4.
Nice. Yeah, that it can't be countered is huge.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
Cool. I like it. And wrapping this up, Mono Blue Flyers.
Wrapping a shout out to our home woodshed.
Yeah. This deck
Just a bunch of
didn't
blue
really
flyers.
lose any super important pieces. You can update it fairly quickly, and we haven't played a ton with it, but when we did play it, it's just, feels the same.
Yep.
Has strong starts. Like Curious Obsession still runs away with things. So
Yeah,
Tempest
don't
gets
forget about
huge.
it if you just want to meme on some people with some.
Don't disrespect the mono blue flying.
Yeah, it's still here.
Yeah. So there's lots of options, I think they're all pretty good. Like you can play a lot of different standard decks right now, and I think this is just a what happens when you are small set standard, but also with good mana, you can cast your spells.
Yeah. All right. We've gone so over this week like we did last time. DWC deck dump.
Lot of
No,
arguments.
last time we hit exactly 59 minutes or whatever for
Did
the
we?
hour we won. Yeah, we were we were
for the last
shocked.
deck dump?
No, for last
I'm
deck
talking
dump.
about
Oh
last episode we
God,
did.
no.
Deck dump, no, went
Oh
way
God,
over.
no. Deck dumps always take us forever. I think
Yeah.
that's fine. People can.
Yeah.
It's a special episode.
Yeah, it was cool. All right, we got a sweet blowout this week. We'll tell it quickly. From pre-release, our friend ABJ, who was on the show a few weeks ago.
Do you want to tell us one?
Yeah, future Pro Tour competitor, ABJ.
Yeah, Cam, tell us what happened.
Can't beat a combat trick. Anyway, so our friend Andrew, he's playing a Boros deck against our other friend Teresa, and she's on like a green-white/black like Convoke type deck. And Andrew sets up this turn. He's got a bunch of he gave his creatures first strike somehow, and he has a bunch. He works out how he's going to mentor and makes a full swing. And he's also got the card, the Final Fortune, the one where you can take an extra combat. No,
Yeah,
is that what?
yeah.
Gives your
it's-
creatures indestructible. So this is not correct. Anyway,
Final Fortune is just a 2
No.
red. You take an extra turn, and after you lose.
yeah, but this new one.
No, it's
The new one-
response resurgence.
Yeah, but the new one gives you your team +1/+1, and then you take an extra
okay.
turn, and then you lose a game.
Okay, so
No, that's not it though. It's the split card he's talking about.
yeah, he has
that
the
had.
split card that gives you an
Oh.
extra combat.
Yeah.
Not an
Oh,
extra
sorry,
turn.
extra
Yeah.
combat.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I-
yeah.
yeah, okay, so he would have had an extra combat, and he's thinking this through, because of the way my creatures have first strike, she's gonna have to chump block, and my creature's gonna eat some of hers, and then the extra combat, I can kill her because of how
she had hired poisoner too, and he had a swath cutter giant, which when it attacks, it deals 1 to all your opponent's creatures.
right, which would have cleared out the death
Yeah.
touch things.
Yeah.
He had a great combat lined up.
Yeah.
It would have been perfect.
Yeah, all first strike.
Yeah. And so he thinks this through, figures everything out, attacks, does his mentor triggers. And then she starts tanking. And he's like, oh, I wonder, I thought about my combat a lot, let her
Yeah.
realize she's dead. And then she's like, I have I'm not quite sure about this first word. Because Teresa's been playing more Magic recently.
Yeah.
I'm not I don't know, does this work? And Andrew just starts oh no. You can realize what's coming. She's like, what? None of my creatures are tapped. And this says untap all your creatures. Can I still use this? And he's like, yeah. And she just casts Join Shields, which is untap all your creatures. They all get hexproof and indestructible in response to the Swath Cutter Giant trigger.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
So nothing dies. All her death touch things are still there. First strike's irrelevant because they're all indestructible. Blocks, wraths his entire board. The second combat is useless because he has no creatures. And then he dies on the crackback.
It's so good. I love this. Is this and then I love the
That was pretty good.
that was pretty good. Yeah.
And then afterwards, Andrew comes up to me and he's like, you would not believe what happened. And he tells this story. And then as soon as he finishes, Teresa walks up to me. She's like, thanks, Cam. Because 10 minutes before, I was like, oh, you should play Join Shields.
Yeah, that card's pretty good.
Oh yeah, that was
5
great.
mana combat tricks, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
5 mana plague wins. 5 mana plague wins. Pretty good card, guys.
So the perfect game-winning combat was game-winning for the wrong person.
All right. Thank you all for joining the club this week. As always, make sure you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. Great other podcasts on this channel, like the Commander's Brew. Get your Guilds of Ravnica singles on mtgcanada.com, wizardtower.com. It's all there. If you want to support this podcast, you can find us on Facebook at the Disorganized Wizard Club Podcast, as well as Twitter at DWC Podcast 1, or on Patreon, patreon.com/DWC Podcast. Yeah.
You get this sweet pre-show ramble on Patreon now
Yeah.
for our patrons.
And we started it last week. We recorded our kind of pre-show
Discussion.
building our
Note,
show
because
notes.
we do show notes. And
Yeah. So, and we're just posting those up on the Patreon now for patrons. So,
Just for fun, is some extra
Yeah.
content. We post some extra stuff on there here and there.
yeah. So, yeah. Check that out. And if you're going to be at GP Montreal this weekend, be sure to give us a shout. Come hang out. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait.
Yeah.
All right.
Excited to see and meet up, hang out.
Yeah, we'll catch y'all next week.
Take care.
Later.